Broadcasting from the greatest castle in the world, in the county of Lawrence, NCTV45.
Hello and welcome to NCTV45's Meet the Candidate, and I'm with our Congressman of the 16th Congressional District, Mr. Mike Kelly. Pleased to have you along.
Great to be here on NCTV45. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Newcastle and Lawrence County. Mike, some questions out there as we travel through these turbulent times, which really don't seem like they have to be that turbulent. And the first question, before we get to anything else, people have to be talking about inflation and spending. And it's a real problem when you go to the gas pump and the lower price is higher than the original price when Donald Trump left office.
Well, I think all of us, when we look at where we are today, it's cost of living. And it is truly the economy that is the main stumbling block that we all have. Because in some cases, while people maybe are making more money, they can't keep up with the rising cost of everything. And as you and I know, when the cost of energy goes off the charts, the cost of everything goes off the charts. So I'm with you. So when I'm at the grocery store, I see people picking up products, looking at them, looking at the price on it, and then putting it down and maybe picking up something else. If I'm in another section where people are looking for baby formula, whatever it is that they're looking for, they're saying, where is the inventory? And the inventory that's here, why does it cost so much? And you go to the gas stations and you watch people that are saying, you know, I'd like to fill up my truck for the week, but I can't afford to anymore. And the wife's car, we gotta tell, cut back a little bit, honey. I know the kids have all kind of practices and school events to go to. Let's be a little bit more careful because we just can't stretch that dollar far enough or hard enough to meet the cost of living that we have right now. Inflation, the highest it's been in over 4 decades. And the true number, I mean, people talk, well, is it up 8% or so? No, it's up 13.5% since President Biden came into office. Now, a lot of contributors to that, I get that. But when you shut down your own domestic supply of energy and choose to go someplace else in the world to buy it from bad actors who really are looking for us to fail, that's not the answer to that. Open up domestic supplies. Let's make the most of what we have. We were energy independent. We are no longer energy independent, and now we have to pay a high price for everything we use.
You know, that's and I want to take one step further. It affects everything, and you hit upon that. Not only the practices, but in Western Pennsylvania, one of the huge things that we have is high school football. And after the high school football games, everybody goes out and gets something to eat.
Right, yeah.
And it hurts that type of thing.
You're spot on. I know that when I had the privilege of playing at Butler under Art Bernardi, the hardest night of the season was always right here in Newcastle, or when the hurricane came into Butler. Right. And they used to talk about severe weather warnings, the tornado and the hurricane meeting head on. So whether it was either Coach Lauro here in Newcastle, Coach Bernardi in Butler, we used to look at this and say that was an evening out for the family.
Right.
Now, no. And it's not the cost of the ticket to get in, it's the cost of the energy to get here. And then if you want to stop and eat someplace, it's just too expensive. And the other side of it is, those folks that are in that business, they can't find enough help to either cook or to serve, right. And they come up short. They're paying more for their product. They don't have enough help to actually serve it and take care of their patrons. And we're looking at something that in America, no, not America. This can't be the America that we grew up in. Unfortunately, bad policy has gotten to this level. And the old story is you can't fix something with nothing. There is a way to fix all this, and the something is look inward and find out what it is what made America great, and just go back to that.
Great points. Now, we had somebody on that was a drug enforcement agent weeks ago. And they talked about illegal immigration. When they come across the border with fentanyl, it can reach Newcastle in 24 hours. So, a little bit about illegal immigration, the cartels and drugs in western Pennsylvania. That's our home.
Yeah, and we look at each other and we look at our communities, and we know that almost everybody we grew up with came from someplace else. Their ancestor came, but they came here the right way.
Right.
They went through a check-in process. They went through a medical check to make sure they weren't bringing something with them that wasn't good for the country they were coming into. But I've said to people consistently, if your first act upon entering the United States is to break one of her laws, can that possibly be a citizen that you want to have stay here? There are ways to come to America. It's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy. The greatest country in the world should have standards that everybody has to pass. We're looking at something now that makes no sense. The last tally I saw, over 2 million illegal immigrants have come into this country. If they had on uniforms, it would be an invading army. Look, I get the side of it that we always have the most welcoming people. Our hearts want to help everybody. But at the end of the day, you can't hurt ourselves domestically. We can't get hurt in our own communities trying to do something that isn't feasible right now. And when the federal government, under the current administration, has no watchdogs at the border. We had a strong border in place. I have been to the border. I have watched what's going on. When you talk to our border guards, when 40% of our border guards are not guarding the border, but are manning these intake centers to take care of children and all the rest of these folks that have come in to make sure they have something to eat, something to wear, and then sending them around the United States to different destinations, you got to wonder, what in the world does this lead to? And it does not end pleasantly. I will be the first one to say nobody's more welcoming than America. You can come. She welcomes you. Come the right way, the same as our ancestors did.
And that's a good point. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about with the illegal immigration is the fact that if you're going to help somebody, a little on supply and demand here. If you have $1 and that helps one person, then 10 come, now you have 10 cents. Yeah. And there's a diminishing return to being able to help people.
Yeah, well, and it's across the board. I think that what we have to really be aware of, you can't ask your own citizens to ration what they should be getting naturally. Our first obligation under our Constitution is to protect our fellow citizens. And we used to do it at the shores. Now we're looking at all these imaginary lines that are supposed to keep people out, and they don't. And we don't have guards there to stop them from coming in. But I think it's a wake-up call for America. It's a wake-up call for America. And it's you know what? If you can't watch your own borders, you're no longer a country. You're just not. And people sometimes they will say, well, yeah, but. And I get the yeah, but. But my charity begins at home. If you can't take care of yourself and your family, how are you going to take care of others? You've got to be rock solid. You've got to be feeling strong economically, and then you're willing to say, I am willing now to share what I don't need for my own. But I have to be able to secure my home. I've got to be able to secure my family. I've got to be able to secure my county, my state, my country. And that's where I think that sometimes we get off the mark of what's going on and the distractions that are taking place. We are creating so many distractions now at the federal level with things that matter but aren't critical. And we're asking our people to take your eyes off the critical stuff and watch where their distraction is, because while you're looking over here, you're losing something over there. And that's where there's an erosion of rights, there's an erosion of our constitutional values, and it's happening right now in front of our eyes, but we don't see it because it's like watching Prescal in the winter. It's a grain of sand at a time. And then you wake up in the spring and there's no shoreline.
Very good point. Now, all this ties into one very important thing, and that's the importance of voting in November. There's been a lot of questions on various ideas of the vote, mail-in ballots, and quite literally everything across the board. Speak on how important it is to vote.
I think of anything we'd like to talk about in any of our relationships, it's the integrity and the trust factor and the confidence factor. We've had, by the way, in Pennsylvania, absentee ballots. Goes back to 1812 when we had Pennsylvanians off fighting a war that weren't going to be home to vote, but they had the ability through an absentee ballot to do it. this no excuse mail-in ballot where you don't have to show any type of an ID. There's no oversight. One of the things I thought was interesting is some of the polling places, the ballot boxes are called drop boxes. Well, what does that mean? We'll drop a box here, we'll drop a box there. Who's going to have oversight of that? Oh, nobody. And so whenever you question that, you're being said, oh, you don't trust the system. No, here's what I do. Trust but verify. Trust but verify. It's very simple. We do it in all our personal relationships, and you and I both know the most fragile thing for anybody in any relationship is the trust, faith, and confidence that they have to have in who it is that they have their friendship with, the relationship with, and especially in your government. If you can no longer have faith, trust, and confidence in your government, you have nothing. And America was always stand strongest for that. I just don't understand how we can look the other way right now and say, well, you don't really have to do that. I mean, nobody's going to do anything fraudulent, are they? No, I have friends that argue with me, say, you really think something happened. I say, I'm saying it wasn't impossible for these number of votes, but it was very implausible. When the President Trump was running for, he got the most votes any president running for re-election ever had in the history of our country. And when you see his opponent, who never campaigned, was able to stay at home and overstate this, like, how did that work? And the question says, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not into that new math. I like the way the nuns taught it.
Yeah, amen to that. Now in closing, give us an overview of some of the things to look for, reasons for people to come out. You have an opponent, and how important it is to make sure we don't lose any more ground in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely critical that people get registered, right, and then get the opportunity to go out and vote. But more important, or just as important as the fact, get informed. Don't go off a 30-second commercial you see or a bumper sticker that you see. Check into the background of that person who is running for office and say, is this the person I would want representing me? And in my case, a lot of people refer to me as like Congressman Kelly. I would rather be called Representative Kelly. I represent almost 750,000 people in Pennsylvania's 16th Congressional District. My duty, my sworn duty, is not to vote the way I think I should, but to vote the way I think they want me to vote for them. Now, it's not going to please everybody. I get that. But we've got to be rock solid on what we believe as Americans. And I listen, this is not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about Americans. These are red, white, and blue realities right now that are standing in front of us. My father went off and fought in World War II. So many of my friends, the same way, had come through the Vietnam War. Nobody said when you went to the Army, are you Republican or are you Democrat? They said, you're an American citizen. It's time to shoulder your arms and go out and protect her. I would like to think that people during these election periods now are looking, and this is really critical. This may be, in every election, people are told this is the most serious election in your lifetime. This one really is critical. What we have watched in the last, was this almost a year and a half, 2 years? We have seen the greatest erosion ever of our basic personal liberties and rights, and we're being overshadowed by a government. Think about this. We're going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, not to help you get through your tax process, but to come in and investigate you to see what you haven't paid. And people tell them, oh, they're only going to go after big companies. I said, don't bite on that one. I know who they're going after, the most vulnerable, and that is each and every one of us. I'm standing there to say, not in my district, you don't do it, not in my state, not in my country, and I would hope that all of my fellow Americans would band together and say, this is a time that these are red, white, and blue issues, not red issues, not blue issues, red, white, and blue issues, and these are American issues right now that are greatly in harm right now by socialists and communists, whatever you want to call these folks. They're certainly not the people that 1.5 million men and women in uniform died for.
Thank you so much for being here at NCTV45. It's been great. I appreciate the opportunity. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Listen, I got to tell you, thank you for what you're doing. It's very difficult, and I tell people all the time, if it wasn't for a double standard, there'd be no standard at all. And there's nothing like the truth and sunlight to be the best antiseptic. We've got to get it out there.
Thank you so much. And we try to point the community in a positive light and present it in that positive light. But I told others, we won't stand for fake news. And so often, and I'm glad you talked about being well informed, so often if you just watch one media source, you get the fake news regularly. But as soon as you watch 2, 3, a host of them, now you get a well-rounded picture of what's going on. And it creates those questions, and those questions, when asked, lead to answers that you might not want to hear, but nevertheless, they're the bare bones of what's going on.
Well,
And so I thank you, and thanks for stopping by NCTV45. We're available anytime on your time. So the big thing about this is your ability to watch this program and then share it with others through email or Instagram or any kind of messaging service. We're on 18 different social media sites, and we're here to inform you. Anytime on your time, NCTV45. Thanks again.
thank you, Angie. Appreciate it.